I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. Jake has spirit. He has some heart. He tried his best, and I take my hat off to him because, number one, a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me, and Jake did. And secondly, even when he got knocked down, he kept on trying to get up.
I'm retiring from boxing. I'm getting hit in the fucking face every single day.
Anthony Joshua did not mock, dismiss, or downplay Jake Paul's shocking announcement. Instead, he responded with respect. After Jake revealed that he was stepping away from boxing following a brutal knockout that resulted in a broken jaw, Joshua was asked for his reaction, and the former heavyweight champion adopted a surprisingly supportive tone. Rather than piling on, AJ praised Jake's fighting spirit, acknowledging the courage it takes to step into the ring, especially for someone who did not come from a traditional boxing background. Joshua made it clear that while criticism is part of the sport, earning respect in boxing begins with having the heart to try. In his view, Jake Paul proved exactly that.
Mile an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or you're gonna get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter. So I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. But as we saw tonight, Jake has spirit.
Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn did not walk back his earlier prediction, though he adopted a more somber tone after the fight. Reflecting on his comment that the bout could potentially end Jake Paul's boxing journey, Hearn said the result unfortunately supported his warning. He explained that injuries such as a broken jaw are not only physically painful but also mentally challenging to overcome, especially for a fighter still developing at the elite level. Hearn pointed out that time away from sparring, the fear of re-injury, and the loss of rhythm can permanently change a boxer's career path. While acknowledging Jake's toughness and willingness to step up, Hearn emphasized that boxing is a ruthless sport, and moments like this often force fighters to seriously question whether the risk is truly worth it.
This would end Jake Paul's career. After what you saw tonight, do you think that Jake should continue to box, or what do you think the future holds?
Yeah, I really take my hat off. I mean, we have to see if it is a broken jaw. Those injuries are very difficult to come back from. But as AJ said, like that last shot would have knocked out a lot of heavyweights. And I know he went down heavy, but you know, he was conscious on the floor. And I thought his game plan, although obviously very negative early on, which it had to be, was smart at times. And there were times where he held his feet and let his hands go. You know, it was a very one-sided fight. It was always going to be a one-sided fight. But you can't give him anything but credit and respect. There's a lot of negative people out there. There's a lot of people who want to criticize people. They're not doing what Jake Paul's done. He just went in with Anthony Joshua and gave it his best shot. Took a lot of punishment and ended the fight eventually.
Paul's game plan against Anthony Joshua was centered on movement, speed, and avoiding Joshua's power for as long as possible. Before the fight, Paul openly stated that his strategy relied on agility and footwork, constantly circling, maintaining distance, and forcing Joshua to chase him around the ring. The goal was to frustrate the former heavyweight champion and survive all 8 rounds. Paul and his team explained that he wanted to avoid taking one clean shot, instead relying on cardio and sharp angles to go the distance. The concept was straightforward: keep moving, disrupt Joshua's rhythm, and make him miss rather than engaging head-on with a heavier, more experienced puncher.
I mean, he had the happy feet going. He was circling around the outside of the ring. He was not looking to engage in elongated combinations. He was not looking to stand in the center of the ring with AJ, and people are going to say Jake ran from AJ, and you're right. Because guess why? He absolutely had to. Again, We talked about this in the build-up to the fight. He had to be mobile. He had to be on his bike. So yes, you're justified in saying Jake ran from him because he had to. He had to. And anybody that convinced themselves that Jake was going to walk to the center of the ring, stand in the phone booth with AJ and trade punches until someone laid flat, you were lying to yourself, or you convinced yourself of something you saw in the promo. This was always going to be the way the fight went. I wasn't surprised at all that this is the way that Jake started and pretty much fought the entire time. I was a bit surprised that AJ didn't assert himself earlier. Now, again, it is very hard to hurt someone that doesn't want to engage in a continuous fight. Round one, very much a feeling out process for AJ. Didn't really look like he did much, but Jake didn't either. There was one right hand that AJ landed in the first round that shook Jake up. That's the danger that was coming for Jake the entirety of the fight. The second and third rounds were pretty much the same, a bit of a mixed bag in terms of Jake tried to get on his jab more. He did land some jabs that snapped the head back of AJ and landed some right hands, but this was all calculated risk for AJ as well, because he knew as long as he turned that faucet on and let the water run and let it fill up the sink and never turned the faucet off, that eventually he would drown Jake, right? So every round it was pressure, front foot, front foot, front foot, and AJ strategically breaking down Jake's gas tank. I will say I'm pretty let down by the fact that AJ didn't cut the ring. I was shocked that he didn't go to the body more. I was shocked that he didn't set up his punches more, didn't get his head off the center line more. It was not a great performance from AJ, but at the same time, AJ had just come off a loss. AJ had just come off surgery. I'm not making excuses, but
Nikisa Bidarian also stepped forward to defend Jake Paul, making it clear that the result of the fight did not erase what actually took place inside the ring. According to Bidarian, Jake executed his game plan on fight night, sticking closely to the strategy developed in training camp and doing exactly what was asked of him round by round. He stressed that boxing is an unforgiving sport, where one mistake or one clean shot can change everything in an instant. From a tactical perspective, however, Bidarian maintained that Jake did what he was supposed to do, showing discipline, preparation, and clear growth despite the devastating outcome.
It was a moral victory because he expected to win. I do think he showed who he is as a fighter. I think he deployed the strategy that he was very clear about going into, that he was going to look to make AJ miss, and AJ missed a number of times. And ultimately, I think the weight of AJ caught up to Jake Paul. If you look at the first 3 rounds, AJ wasn't really able to touch him. But when AJ was in a clinch with him a couple of times, pushed down on the back of his neck, pushed down on the back of his head, got him to the ground. There was a few times where Jake looked like he was going for a takedown. Again, that was Jake trying to engage in the clinch, and AJ smartly moved back. In one instance, I think it was the 5th round, Jake engaged for a clinch, AJ moved back and started punching down on Jake's back. So all of those things kind of deteriorated or emptied Jake's gas tank a lot earlier than I think he expected it to. But overall, I thought he deployed his game plan well for the first 5 rounds and actually had some success. He even moved AJ back a few times, 1 by just jabbing in the air, and 2, when he caught him, he moved AJ back. AJ came right back in and swung.
Nikisa Bidarian shared his emotional reaction to the fight, describing himself as heartbroken yet proud following the brutal knockout loss Jake Paul suffered against Anthony Joshua. He emphasized that people are now beginning to respect Paul for the effort and courage he showed inside the ring. According to Bidarian, Jake delivered his best performance under extraordinary pressure, stepping in against one of the most elite heavyweights in boxing history. His reaction captured a blend of sadness and admiration, reflecting the feelings of many fans who were disappointed by the result but still recognized Paul's bravery, commitment, and dedication to the challenge.
I'm just happy he's safe. I've always been proud of him. I speak constantly from the rooftops, the mountaintops, from my car when I'm moving in the street. Respect Jake Paul. That was the #1 trending thing on Twitter about an hour ago. Respect to Jake Paul. So I'm just thrilled.
With how it went tonight, obviously you guys came in here and you actually did, like, deluded or not what people will say, people believe that Jake Paul could do something crazy tonight. Did you truly believe from the beginning that he might pull it off?
So he 100% believed unequivocally that he was going to win. And I talked about that with him, afterwards when he was getting showered up. He knew it was high risk, high reward. He had to land something big, but he felt like he could. My view was it was going to be very hard, but it could happen, right? And there was moments in that fight where I was like, holy shit, this kid's getting him a little bit. So, when I spoke about no matter what happens.
Despite the decisive outcome, many respected voices in combat sports chose to highlight Jake Paul's determination rather than focus only on the loss. MMA legend Anderson Silva was among those offering praise, emphasizing the courage it takes to step into the ring against a former heavyweight champion of Anthony Joshua's caliber. Silva noted that regardless of the final result, Jake showed growth, discipline, and a willingness to face extreme adversity head-on. Analysts and fighters alike pointed out that Paul's ability to stick to his game plan, absorb punishment, and keep competing under pressure reflected a fighter's heart that cannot be measured by wins and losses alone. Silva stressed that these qualities, bravery, resilience, and improvement, earn respect within both the boxing and MMA communities. Even in defeat, Paul's performance suggested he has the mindset of a fighter willing to learn, adapt, and test himself against elite competition. In the aftermath of the fight, that mindset became a central part of the conversation surrounding his future.
Miami, taking on Jake Paul in a much-anticipated heavyweight bout, and in the end it was AJ who delivered exactly what we wanted in the end. He stopped Paul in the 6th round to get the victory. I'm just seeing pictures online just now of Jake Paul with a broken jaw. The guy's crazy. He's sticking his tongue out, blood everywhere. He's playing up to the cameras. He's quite the showman. Our very own showman with us this morning out there in Miami is TalkSport's Gareth A. Davies. Good morning, Gareth.
Hi, Gareth.
Good morning, Siobhan. Good morning, Tony. A very dramatic night here.
Yeah.
Ask away.
Gareth, I've got to ask you because obviously he'll be criticised, I think, for sort of running around the ring in the first few rounds. But boy, I've got to say, this Jake Paul is game as anybody I've seen.
He is very, very bold and very brash and very brave. And he did extraordinarily well to take Anthony Joshua 6 rounds tonight. Yes, he ran around, he was elusive, but then he clinched and I think he landed about 4 or 5 punches. Arguably, he might have won the first round and another round in there. So he did a brilliant job for his own resume, for his own career. And as you say, he's in hospital right now. He's posting the pictures already on Instagram. The scars of battle, the wounds of battle, the broken jaw, his teeth are rearranged a little bit. He gave it his all, but he wasn't good enough. Kind of what happened, we knew that was going to happen. The gulf in class and experience was extraordinary. And, you know, I've just been with Anthony Joshua and he said he was actually quite surprised about how elusive Jake was, and he just decided, you know what, I'm going to take my time here. And
Brendan Schaub and other analysts revisited Anthony Joshua's approach with a sharper perspective. Schaub noted that Joshua's performance confirmed what many had suspected beforehand. He never approached the matchup as a must-win, legacy-defining fight in the traditional sense. As an established elite fighter with a championship pedigree, Joshua entered the bout fully aware of the gap in experience between himself and Jake Paul, whose background remains rooted more in entertainment than high-level boxing. Post-fight analysis suggested that Joshua's calm, controlled style was deliberate. By avoiding unnecessary aggression, he reduced risk, protected his long-term career, and still delivered a performance that entertained fans without damaging his standing in the sport.
And he's not putting his best performance forward. That's the issue. The issue is Anthony's like, how much you can pay me? It's on Netflix? Hold up. I can fight this guy who, you know, when I was an amateur teenager, I fought better guys. And I have how much weight on him? I can fight him for how much money? Dude, I'll beat him in my sleep. Correct. And you should. And it's such a disservice to the sport of boxing and to the actual fans of boxing if Anthony Joshua doesn't go out there and absolutely dominate Jake Paul. If it goes to decision, if it goes past 6 rounds, Houston, we have a problem. Boxing, we have a problem. And now, people are going, where was this energy with Gervonta Davis? Different. You're talking about a very, very small guy. I've worked with Gervonta. He's fucking tiny. And size can overshadow a lot of that stuff. I still think Gervonta should still win that fight. And the body shots, if he's taking it seriously, that should have got the job done. But obviously he has his legal issues and that went out the window. But when you're talking about an actual world-class heavyweight who went toe-to-toe with Klitschko, with fucking all these bad boys, If Anthony Joshua takes this serious, as he should, this shouldn't even be a competition, and it's brilliant. Because for Jake, okay, cool, man. Got knocked out by one of the best to ever do it, or got finished by one of the best to do it. At least I got in there. And I'm not even a heavyweight. I'm a cruiserweight at best. Either I'm too light in the ass for that. I should be fighting down. He's shooting.
Legendary ring announcer Michael Buffer offered a distinctive perspective on the influence of Jake Paul and Logan Paul in modern boxing. He highlighted how the brothers have injected fresh energy into the sport, drawing in younger audiences who might not have otherwise paid attention to boxing. Their ability to build compelling storylines, create anticipation, and generate large-scale excitement has significantly widened the sport's reach. Buffer acknowledged that while some critics remain skeptical about the legitimacy of crossover fights, the impact of the Paul brothers on boxing cannot be ignored. By attracting new viewers and boosting mainstream interest, they have helped open the door to broader fan engagement and increased media coverage. This surge in attention has also allowed established fighters to connect with a wider, more diverse audience, blending entertainment value with legitimate athletic competition. Buffer ultimately described this crossover effect as a net positive for boxing, emphasizing that the sport thrives when elite-level skill is paired with strong promotion. In his view, the mix of spectacle and serious competition does not weaken boxing's integrity, it strengthens its visibility and long-term appeal. In hindsight, many analysts have boiled the entire build-up and aftermath down to what they call a Tom and Jerry show, arguing that the outcome was predictable well before fight night. From their perspective, Jake Paul fully embraced the role of the loud, exaggerated instigator, using theatrics and trash talk to sell the event. Anthony Joshua, by contrast, stayed quiet and methodical, conserving energy and carefully studying his opponent. Once the fight began, that contrast became impossible to miss. Joshua's experience, precision, and composure quickly took control, breaking Paul down and ending the spectacle with a decisive knockout, a result that may have shocked casual viewers but aligned perfectly with expert expectations.
Paul's getting in the ring with that guy, dude. Josh was a monster. He stayed in it the whole time, and I'm really proud of Jake, dude. All my respect to him, bro. Whatever outcome happened. I mean, dude, he went 6.5 rounds with Anthony Joshua, one of the best in the world, so I got nothing but respect.
And got up like 2 times?
No, it was sick.
Talk about that. I mean, there's been other heavyweights that have felt that right hand who haven't got up.
Nagano, so many people, bro. The overhand right. Jake's got a tough chin, dude. I think he does whatever he wants after this. He just has such big balls, dude. He had to keep moving. That was the only strategy. People are gonna say he ran around the ring. They don't know. They don't understand fucking boxing.
You showed a ton of heart, right? You showed a ton of heart. What's next for Jake Paul?
Before the fight, legendary trainer Teddy Atlas sparked debate throughout the boxing world by outlining a hypothetical path in which Jake Paul could potentially trouble, or even upset, Anthony Joshua. Even with the odds firmly stacked against Paul, Atlas leaned into the idea that styles make fights, explaining that Paul's youth, mobility, and improved footwork could create issues if applied the right way. He suggested that steady movement and smart pacing might interrupt Joshua's rhythm, especially if Joshua showed any hesitation after his long layoff and past losses. After the fight, however, Teddy Atlas wasted no time shutting down those pre-fight scenarios with a blunt, no-nonsense assessment. Atlas admitted that whatever slim opportunity existed on paper vanished as soon as the punches were thrown. He emphasized that Anthony Joshua's timing, patience, and composure were razor-sharp, eliminating any chance for Jake Paul to rely on movement or youth. Atlas added that Joshua controlled the distance, waited for mistakes, and punished them decisively, clear traits of a seasoned elite fighter.
What was your reaction when you saw that announcement? It shocked a lot of people in boxing. What did you make of that? Or what do you make
Jake
of that?
hasn't made too many mistakes so far. So it got my attention. It got Teddy's attention. He's been growing. He's been growing in the ring. He's been growing outside the ring. He's been growing in confidence. I think that in the Canelo situation, that didn't happen. He was ready to do that. I think if anything else, if nothing else, he's showing you that he truly is believing in himself. And that, he's been a work in progress. He still is. And he's showing you, he's putting his money where his mouth is. Everyone's calling for him to do this, to do that. And, he's always had the advantage with guys that weren't real fighters. They were fighters. They were older fighters. They were MMA fighters. They were this. They were that. They were smaller. They were older. Now he's taking a guy that's bigger, older, but bigger. A real, can't debate if he's a fighter. 2-time heavyweight champ. Coming off but he's a smart son of a gun. He's a gutsy son of a... I always stood up for him because everyone was saying he was hurting the sport. He wasn't hurting the sport. In some ways, he was bringing interest in a different way to the sport. But he, and